Get that camera the f away from me.
I was so appalled by the way I looked.
The people that try to make you scared, you know, and fight back.
It's been a dream to join the MCU. The movie is called The Fantastic Four. I'll confess, I did all my stretching for...
Just like we see with every single Marvel movie released, the big lead up, the excitement, the hype that the mainstream media desperately tries to generate. And it always ends up happening this way.
And now you got Disney CEO Bob Iger only making matters worse.
Marvel and Disney are in full-blown crisis mode because the Fantastic Four wasn't just a box office disappointment, it was a humiliation. What was supposed to kick off a brand new era of the MCU has instead become a warning sign that fans are finally done. And at the center of the storm, Pedro Pascal, the very actor Disney believed would save the franchise, may have just destroyed it. Instead of uniting audiences, his political rants and bizarre press tour moments sparked one of the biggest fan exoduses Marvel has ever faced. People didn't just skip the movie, they walked away from Pascal himself. Behind the scenes, Disney executives are panicking.
Now, given that the Fantastic Four First Steps box office situation is throwing both Disney and Marvel Studios into a state of panic for obvious reasons, we know that those out there like Pedro Pascal, who continues to make things political during the press tour of this film, it's not helping at all in any case. And one thing is for certain right now is that the numbers that they're pulling in right now for the box office metrics, these aren't the numbers that they were hoping for, especially before Spider-Man Brand New Day and Avengers Doomsday in, of course, 2026.
Theater chains are pulling the film early, fans are dragging Pascal across social media, and Marvel's future projects, Spider-Man, Avengers, and beyond, are now at risk. The collapse is real, the backlash is massive, and what happened next would shock even the most loyal Marvel fans. Marvel Studios once had the golden touch. Every release was an event, every box office number a headline about domination. But this time, things look different. The Fantastic Four was marketed as the MCU's fresh start, the rebirth of a struggling franchise. Yet when the numbers rolled in, even Disney couldn't spin the truth. Behind the flashy headlines and carefully crafted press releases, insiders say the mood was grim.
Brand Marvel used to sell tickets in and of itself. It almost didn't matter what the movie was. People were interested because they were so bought into the MCU. And in particular, late into Phase 3, it was just... people trusted.
The film cost hundreds of millions to produce and promote, yet global box office returns failed to meet expectations. Executives at Disney tried to label it a victory, but the reality inside the boardrooms was panic. When theaters take their cut, the so-called profit nearly vanishes. Theaters themselves began scaling back screenings, a death sentence for any blockbuster still in its early weeks. The numbers screamed failure, and the cracks in Marvel's empire became impossible to ignore. And if the numbers weren't bad enough, another storm was brewing, one that went beyond money. It centered on the very face of this project, Pedro Pascal.
Get that camera the f away from me.
I was so appalled by the way I looked.
Pedro Pascal was supposed to be Marvel's big win. The star who captured hearts in The Mandalorian and The Last of Us was expected to bring charisma, charm, and credibility to the Fantastic Four. But instead, he brought chaos. From the very beginning of the press tour, Pascal leaned into politics, making statements that divided audiences rather than uniting them. Fans who once adored him began to question whether he was the right fit. Instead of focusing on the film, headlines centered on Pascal's interviews, his outspoken views, and his controversial remarks.
Disney and Marvel Studios, they went into panic mode, they went into damage control mode over, of course, all the Hollywood trades talking about this.
What should have been a victory lap turned into a minefield, and Marvel's big gamble quickly looked like a mistake. And then came the wave that no studio ever wants to face, the fan exodus. The phrase Pascal fatigue started trending, and it wasn't just a few disgruntled voices online, it was millions. Fans who had supported him for years began walking away, some saying they were tired of seeing him cast in everything, others furious over his political commentary. Social media turned into a battlefield of memes, hashtags, and angry threads, and what once was fan admiration turned into mockery. Even loyal Marvel fans decided to sit this one out. Many didn't buy tickets, choosing instead to wait for Disney Plus or skip it entirely. The box office suffered, but what hurt more was the damage to Pascal's image. In just weeks, he went from Hollywood's internet darling to the actor fans couldn't stop roasting. But if the fan backlash was brutal, Pascal's reaction made things even worse. Instead of staying quiet and letting the storm pass, Pascal doubled down. He blamed MAGA fans and Trump supporters for the film's collapse. In his own words, critics weren't moviegoers. They were narrow-minded and naive. His comments lit a new firestorm online. Rather than sympathy, he drew more anger, and the narrative quickly shifted. This wasn't about politics. It was about an actor who refused to listen. On stage and in interviews, Pascal positioned himself as misunderstood, battling anxiety and frustration, while standing up for what's right. But his choice of words only widened the gap. Instead of softening his image, his tirades became proof for many fans that Marvel had lost touch with its audience. And in the eyes of critics, it wasn't just a meltdown, it was career sabotage in real time. The irony? His meltdown was unfolding at the exact moment Marvel needed him to shine. And what happened on the press tour turned the disaster into a spectacle. If fans were already skeptical, the press tour sealed their decision. Pascal's interviews went viral for all the wrong reasons. His bizarre daddy comments, referring to characters like Iron Man and Doctor Doom, sparked ridicule instead of hype. Clips spread across TikTok and Twitter, not as promotional gold, but as cringe compilations. Disney executives reportedly watched in silence as Pascal's every public appearance shifted the conversation away from the movie itself. Instead of talking about the Fantastic Four storyline or Marvel's new phase, audiences were laughing at awkward sound bites. The press tour was supposed to generate excitement. Instead, it left fans rolling their eyes. And just when it seemed things couldn't get worse, theaters themselves delivered the final blow. For Marvel, nothing stings more than when theater chains give up on a film early. That's exactly what happened with Fantastic Four. After just a few weeks, theaters began pulling screenings, quietly replacing them with smaller, independent releases that were drawing better crowds. Some chains admitted the demand simply wasn't there, while others cited empty seats during prime showtimes. To put it into perspective, this wasn't just a box office dip, it was a collapse. Marvel films used to dominate for months, outlasting every competitor. Now, with Pascal at the helm and controversy swirling around every headline, Fantastic Four couldn't even hold its ground for a single month. And this wasn't just a sign of a weak movie. For industry insiders, it was a warning shot. If Fantastic Four couldn't hold theaters, what did that mean for Marvel's future blockbusters still waiting in line? The MCU has always been a juggernaut, but Fantastic Four's failure exposed just how fragile that reputation has become. Fans who once lined up for midnight premieres now openly say they've checked out. The trust between Marvel and its audience has been fractured, and the cracks are widening with every misstep. Even worse, this flop doesn't stand alone. Fantastic Four was supposed to be the foundation for the next wave of Marvel films, setting up Spider-Man, Brand New Day, Avengers, Doomsday, and beyond. But instead of building excitement, it raised doubts. If the foundation is this shaky, how can fans believe the bigger projects will succeed? Disney poured money into marketing, but no amount of flashy trailers could hide the truth. The MCU brand is damaged, and audiences are no longer guaranteed to show up just because Marvel's logo is on the screen. Perhaps the most shocking part of this disaster isn't the box office or the backlash. It's Disney's refusal to cut ties with Pedro Pascal. Despite the fan outrage, despite the embarrassing press moments, Bob Iger and Kevin Feige stood firmly behind him. Industry insiders say the decision stunned even Marvel employees. Many wondered why Disney would risk sinking the franchise further instead of admitting the mistake. The answer may lie in Hollywood's obsession with star power. Pascal was everywhere, streaming hits, award shows, interviews. Disney bet on his image, believing that his name alone could carry the Fantastic Four. But when that image cracked, so did Marvel's plan. And by refusing to pivot, they've tied their future to a sinking ship. The backlash against executives has already begun. Fans aren't just blaming Pascal, they're blaming Marvel's leadership for refusing to listen. And the anger is spreading. It didn't take long before fans made the connection. Online, Pedro Pascal was nicknamed Pedro Zegler, a direct comparison to Rachel Zegler's infamous Snow White controversy. Like Zegler, Pascal turned a major role into a personal battleground, using interviews to push politics instead of promoting the film. And like Zegler, he underestimated how quickly fans would turn. The comparison stuck. Social media threads began dissecting their similarities. Actors who let their personal views overshadow their performances, studios that refuse to hold them accountable, and franchises that paid the price. For many, Pascal's downfall wasn't just déjà vu. It was proof that Hollywood hadn't learned a single lesson. And once the comparison started trending, Pascal's reputation took another hit. Suddenly, he wasn't just an actor in a failed Marvel movie, he was the poster child for everything fans said was wrong with modern Hollywood. Now, the question everyone's asking: what's next? For Pedro Pascal, the fallout could reshape his entire career. Some insiders claim upcoming projects may quietly cut him loose, while others say he's still being courted by studios that believe controversy equals attention. For Disney, though, the situation is far more dangerous. The MCU's future hangs in the balance. If the next Spider-Man and Avengers films stumble the way Fantastic Four did, the empire could crumble faster than anyone predicted. Marvel once defined the blockbuster era. Now, it risks becoming the cautionary tale of how even the biggest franchises can collapse under arrogance, mismanagement, and the wrong star at the wrong time. And as fans watch from the sidelines, one thing is certain: the days of blind loyalty to Marvel are over. Pedro Pascal's meltdown wasn't just about one actor, one movie, or one press tour. It was about the shift in Hollywood itself. Fans are tired of being lectured, tired of seeing politics replace storytelling, and tired of watching their favorite franchises fall apart under the weight of ego. Disney wanted Pascal to save the MCU, but instead, he exposed its weaknesses. Fantastic Four wasn't just a box office flop, it was a cultural turning point, proof that audiences will no longer support stars who treat them with contempt. So the question remains, can Marvel recover, or has the empire already fallen too far? Because if the Fantastic Four collapse taught us anything, it's that even giants can crumble. And this time, the fall may be permanent.